Hi everyone, my name is Joe Tyrrell and welcome to the Undercut, the GPblog podcast. It's been a historic season start for Mercedes, there's been more strategic mishaps from Ferrari, and there was a return for the torpedo. To talk us through all of this, I'm joined as always by our trusted panel of experts. We'll look forward to the final Spanish Grand Prix. We'll give you our best F1 fantasy tips, and we'll have another heated debate in the hot take section. This is the 2019 season, episode 3.
Valtteri, it's James.
Come on. Get it, girl. No, and that's going to ruin the undercut attempt. Woo! The undercut.
As always, I'm joined by Nicolás Quarles van Ufford and Adam Newton. Guys, are you excited for this weekend?
Very excited, Joe. Thank you for having me on again.
We're going to move on to get straight into the news. As always, boys, you've been sniffing around in the darkest crevices of the internet. Nick, I know you're keen to talk about something in particular. What is it?
Yeah, it's the Dutch Grand Prix. Although it still hasn't been officially confirmed yet, the Dutch Grand Prix will probably be on the Formula 1 calendar next season, taking the place of the Spanish Grand Prix. And although I'm really excited about it, obviously, being Dutch, and there hasn't been a Dutch Grand Prix in 34 years on the top of my head, the choice of Zandvoort is really puzzling to me. Zandvoort is a historic track. Yes, it has hosted around 30 Grand Prix, or 29, I think. But it's an outdated track. Formula 3 raced there, DTM raced there, and they complain about it being too narrow and there being no opportunities to overtake. So imagine Formula 1 cars. You can barely have two next to each other on the track, and the track needs so much renovation, and that's not even mentioning the infrastructure around the track. I like going to Zandvoort because it's a beachside place and it's a nice place to go, but as any Dutch person will know, getting there is horrible. There's two roads that lead to Zandvoort, two very small roads, one lane roads, and you're stuck in traffic for an entire day pretty much if you want to go there, and that's just for a beach day. So imagine if 200,000 people want to go to a track, and there's just two roads leading to that track, and you can't make any more roads because it's the nature is protected. It's protected nature. You can't make more roads. I don't get it. You have Asse, host MotoGP, perfect circuit, perfect infrastructure, very cool circuit as well. Needs some minor adjustments, no, but they have to pick Zandvoort and make like 100 million worth of adjustments to it just to host this Grand Prix at a place where it's been held before. I don't understand it. It's baffling to me.
To replace it, we could be losing one of the most historic races on the circuit.
Yeah,
according to Carlos Sainz, anyway.
Yeah, the Circuit de Catalunya has hosted it since 1991, I think, and it is one of those tracks that it's an absolute staple on the Formula 1 calendar, isn't it? Although
you expect to be testing there in the winter, and a few weeks later back.
They will test there anyway, but I don't get it. I mean, I get it from a commercial point of view. You want Max Verstappen fans; he has millions of fans, and you want a race in his home country, but it's just. Zandvoort is not a good track to host an F1 race. It just isn't. You have to make so many you might as well make an entirely new circuit there. It has to be so many changes. I don't get it.
What would be your ideal track for a Dutch Grand Prix?
Asse hosts a Grand Prix at the TT circuit for MotoGP. It can easily house 200,000 people because it's one of the most known circuits on the MotoGP calendar. And yeah, it is a bit in the middle of nowhere, but it's very easily reachable, and it's a really cool circuit as well, and it needs some minor adjustments. So why not do it there? I really, really don't get it.
So that's European circuits. Adam, your bit of news.
Yeah,
the Brazilian Grand Prix moving circuits.
Grand Prix. This is quite recent. I think it was as recent as Wednesday before the Spanish Grand Prix. Could be moving to Rio from Interlagos, and I don't get this move. I know the Interlagos circuit is in a bit of debt and it's perhaps not in a great area, but think of the history, the folklore of the Brazilian Grand Prix at Interlagos. You've got not just Lewis Hamilton is that Glock, which we all remember, we all know. You've got Senna's win in 1991.
Yeah, historic.
You've got Vettel's drive back through the field in 2012 to win the title. Jenson Button won his title there from 15th on the grid. this is a track that should be ring-fenced by Formula One. There's probably, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 tracks that should be ring-fenced by the FIA, and like Silverstone, Monaco, Monza, Interlagos, Spa, perhaps.
Yeah.
They should be staples on the grid. And
Nürburgring as well for me, even though it's not on there right now.
yeah, Nürburgring, another one. And they're saying they're going to build this new track in 6 or 7 months.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, you can't build. I mean, I'm not an infrastructure expert, but it just seems ridiculous that you can build a new track in like 7 months.
Something doesn't quite add up there.
The billions of pounds worth of money.
The Brazilian president is known
Does
to
the
be...
Brazilian government, let's not get political, but do they have that sort of money to build £1 billion whatever?
The Brazilian president is known to be a bit of a...
President Bolsonaro, I think, is
a bit of a clown, basically.
Yeah, well...
Yeah, but what I really like Liberty Media as new owners, but these two decisions with Zandvoort and with Interlagos are... I can't disagree anymore with either of them.
I can't see a calendar without Interlagos on it, because it's just such a classic staple of the calendar. We always go there. It's like it produces one of the best races. You remember Nico Hülkenberg got a pole there in 2010?
Yeah.
That wouldn't happen on any other track because it's so unpredictable. The weather is changeable. You go to the Brazilian Grand Prix, it's always a good race.
Yeah.
And you don't get that at other tracks.
This has to be the most negative start to a podcast ever.
Well,
it has to be said though.
It looks like we could have a pretty reshuffled calendar next year then.
Yeah.
Makes for interesting...
Yeah, the Vietnam Grand Prix as well.
Yeah. Interesting, but is it good for the sport? Digressing a bit, but with the Vietnam Grand Prix, we've seen Formula One go to Eastern Asia a few times. I know it's worked in Japan, China, its popularity's coming up, but didn't work in India, didn't work in South Korea. Malaysia's now off the calendar.
Yeah.
Why do they think Vietnam's going to be different to the Spanish Grand Prix that's leaving, or moving from Interlagos to Rio?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. Let's just wait and see for the Vietnam one.
If it's a great race, then fair enough, but I don't get it.
Right, moving on to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix recap. Last time out in Baku, Mercedes secured another historic 1-2, their 4th in a row, and it's the best start from a team ever. Leclerc, well, he crashed in Q2 and maybe looked like he was pulling it back before Ferrari's strategy cost him again. Ricciardo and Kvyat had a bizarre collision, and Gasly, well, it doesn't get much better for him. He had a power unit fail. Adam, Nick, you're going to pick one winner and one loser each. Go for it.
My winner is actually Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll did very poorly in qualifying.
Do you have a man crush on Lance Stroll? You keep mentioning him in these podcasts.
I mean, he's a decent looking guy.
Well.
No, Lance Stroll did horribly again in qualifying. The starts from him are one of my favorite things to watch now in F1. He gained so many places again, climbed through the field again, and got points again. This is his second points finish, I think, now. And although obviously Perez is outdriving him, I'm very much enjoying his racing right now. And I think the Baku, obviously, he had his podium there, but I think Baku really brings out the best of him.
Don't you think it's a little bit worrying, his qualifying form? Is it 7 in a row Q1 exits in a Racing Point, which, they're only 1 point behind McLaren, who are 4th.
Look,
they're a good midfield team.
Look, the guy's 20.
We forget how young he is, don't we? Of course.
He's extremely young. He's, I think, the second youngest driver on the grid after Lando Norris, maybe after George Russell. He already has so many good qualities. He's a bit of a rainmaster. He is very good on the first lap. And if he can build on those qualities and really force himself to get better at qualifying, I can see him being a very, very good driver in the future.
So can I.
I mean, let's be honest, this seat's not in any danger, even if Perez is outperforming him quite comfortably. Adam, we'll come to you next. Who's your winner?
You just mentioned him. It's Sergio Perez. A good day for the Racing Point boys from me and Nick. P6 in Azerbaijan. Best of the rest behind the 2 Mercedes, 2 Ferraris and Max Verstappen.
He's going about his business quite quietly, Sergio
Quietly,
Perez.
but brilliantly.
Yeah.
He didn't score in Australia, which was disappointing on his part.
6th in the standings now.
He was 10th in Bahrain, 8th in China, 6th in Baku. Sergio Perez goes about his business every year. Sometimes he has crashes or whatever, but he's always quick. And he's always a very, very good driver for Force India and now Racing Point. So he's my winner from the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. I thought we didn't really see a lot of him simply because he was way ahead of the rest of the midfield, and we know he's not going to compete with the top 3 teams because their cars are just, on another level, aren't they? But his points tally so far this year is very, very positive, and he's a fantastic driver.
And who's your loser, Adam?
You coming straight back to me for my loser?
I'm coming straight back to you. I want to know who is your big loser.
My big loser is Daniel Ricciardo. What was he doing?
Yeah.
Absolute nightmare from the lad. Reversing, it was into Kvyat, right?
Into Kvyat, yeah. I don't know if either of you have seen, but he did a commercial in Australia on how to parallel park.
Oh yeah, he did
a little while ago, and
I forgot about
that. Just showing his skills there. How did he not see him? I know the mirrors are small, but surely he would have, if he checked and looked, he would have noticed him and not just reversed into him. Ended both their races, which is unfortunate for him, unfortunate for Kvyat, who was just, an unfortunate passenger in that.
He got torpedoed.
He got torpedoed.
The torpedo got torpedoed.
Yeah. Not a good start to the season for Ricciardo. I know he had that P7 in China.
6 points.
6 points. It's not a lot from 4 races, is it?
Well, considering he's had 2 DNFs before that, it's really, really poor, really.
It's sad. Well, we're 4 races in, he's got plenty of time to bring it back, but it's not a good start for him. Not a good start to his Renault career. So I've been a bit let down by him this season.
Yeah, my big loser to keep the negativity going.
We're really loving the negativity today.
Yeah, we're loving it. My losers are Haas as a team. Baku, and in this year in general, Haas have shown to have incredible pace. In the first 3 qualifyings, they've had both cars in Q3, and apart from Mercedes and Ferrari, they're the only team who have done that. And now in Baku, as it tends to happen, they've completely fallen off a cliff in terms of form. I think Magnussen barely got into Q2. Grosjean got stuck in Q1. Grosjean obviously DNF'd in the end.
Tired after 38 laps, yeah.
Magnussen finished P13, I believe. And another poor result, and they're just not maximizing this clearly very good package they have, and they're not scoring enough points for how good that car is and how good looking that car is as well.
Oh, Haas were my dark horses before the start of the season.
I think they were a lot of people's dark horses.
Yeah, I thought they were going to have a really, really good season, but they just seem to be going backwards in all the races. Magnussen drove well in Australia.
This has been their problem since they came into F1 in 2016. The tire temperature windows, they just can't get those things right. And it's hard to watch because I really like Haas as a team. But
I like Günther Steiner as well.
Big losers for me.
Big losers. Yeah, they just seem to go backwards in every race.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate.
Well, let's not forget they had a tough start to the season last season, so there is still
it wasn't this tough though, was it? It didn't look this bad for him.
It wasn't quite this bad, but hopefully Haas will pick up and we'll see some of the form they showed at the back end of last season. We're going to move on to the Spanish Grand Prix now. Potentially the last one ever. Nick, talk us through a lap around the Circuit de Catalunya.
Yeah, so the the Circuit de Catalunya is known for being one of the most well-balanced tracks in the world. It has slow corners, fast corners, long winding corners, straights, a bit of everything. And it is also notorious, I guess, for it being very hard to overtake on, and it tends to not have very good races in terms of overtakes and things. But yeah, so the track starts with chicane 1-2 after the home straight into a very long winding right corner, 2 hairpins, bit of a technical section there, onto a back straight, more DRS there, 2 more hairpins, a lot of slow corners in that third sector, and then onto the home straight, and which is another DRS zone. I personally really like the track. I've always liked to drive it on games and stuff like that.
On your 100%ing Formula 1 2019, 2018.
Yeah, it's a cool track, hard to overtake on, and obviously the driver every driver has driven the most laps of their careers on this track. So the drivers will, as Charles Leclerc said, ahead of the weekend, the track will make, the drivers will make not a lot of difference.
Yeah, I agree. It's a nice track, but when was the last scintillating race at So I know 2016
Yeah.
Verstappen winning, but was there loads of overtakes? I know there was the big crash at the
Yeah.
start with Hamilton and Rosberg.
I get
Maldonado won in 2012,
Yeah.
but that was an okay race.
Pastel.
It wasn't a stunning race, like a
Alonso's
Baku
win-
last year or whatever.
Alonso's win in 2013 was pretty good, I think, for Ferrari. Last time Ferrari have won there also.
Stat attack.
Stat attack.
You mentioned Ferrari. They dominated really the preseason testing. Is there anyone you're expecting to have an advantage here?
Well, Ferrari have brought an engine upgrade. What difference that will make, we don't know. How reliable that will be, we don't know. But if it goes to plan like they hope it will, Ferrari could, we've been saying this since the start.
Broken record at this point.
They could come back and challenge Mercedes, but, who knows? Yes, Ferrari were quickest in preseason testing at this track, but you know what Mercedes are like. We both know what Mercedes are like.
Always
Everyone
hiding
listening
something.
knows what Mercedes are like. They're probably quicker here as well. But Ferrari should have confidence coming in with this new upgrade. I don't know if Mercedes have got a similar one. I don't think they've...
They probably will.
They probably will. I don't know if they've announced it or made a big thing about it, but...
No, they never do. Mercedes are just so
just go about
low-key
it.
about it.
Yeah.
Sneaky.
So, for the sake of the championship and the competitiveness of it, this Ferrari upgrade will be good, and they will be in with a shout of a win.
Let's hope so. Anyway.
Let's hope so. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned, Adam, that Ferrari are bringing a big upgrade to Spain. It's been recent in the last, very recently, that Hassan and Alfa Romeo won't use the new Ferrari engine in Spain, and Renault are also bringing a new power unit. Plenty of upgrades all throughout the field.
Yeah, so Spain, of course, is when it's the first, quote-unquote, home Grand Prix for all the teams because it's close to the home bases. And it tends to be when everyone obviously brings updates, big updates. And it also tends to be when works teams and the bigger teams tend to pull away from the pack a little bit. We've had this really close, cool midfield battle up to now. And I am a little bit concerned that the likes of Renault in midfield and McLaren, probably because they have a massive budget, are gonna not run away but pull away a little bit from the rest of the midfield compared to teams with smaller budgets like a Haas. Having said that, it's hard to bet on Renault at this point with the season they've had, but I really back Renault to have like a P7 and 8
Statement performance.
Their engine upgrade is surrounded by reliability. That's what they've been aiming for with this, because we know they've not been reliable at all this season.
Yeah.
Typical French cars.
I don't
But
I don't know what to believe anymore from them, man.
no, I don't either.
They keep saying this stuff, and I don't know. I'm just leaving them on red. I'm not responding anymore.
Right, guys, so the circuit to Catalonia, will it throw up any surprises? Who are your top three, and who are you expecting to star in the midfield? Adam, I'll come to you first.
So my top three on the GPblog Predicts, which is the new series
Hashtag.
GPblog Predicts. Make sure you check it out.
which you can find on the GPblog Twitter, which is Nick at
GPblog_com.
GPblog_com. I believe
Great
I've
follow, by the way.
gone with Bottas to win. I'm backing the return of Bottas to do it again. I've got Sebastian Vettel in second place to break up that Mercedes 1-2 domination, but they're still on top. Lewis Hamilton's going to come in P3. Not such a great race for Lewis this week, I don't think, but he'll still be there and he'll still be in touching distance with Valtteri Bottas come the end of
It's really
this race.
really specific, this.
Yeah.
I'll remind you that I got the most points in Baku. And I think that this will be the time. This will be the time. The fifth time of asking. I keep saying it, but this is the time Ferrari are going to win. And it's going to be Vettel, because I've not been impressed at all by Leclerc, despite his flashes of quickness. Vettel's going to be P1, Bottas going to be P2, Hamilton's going to be P3. That's it.
How about the midfield? Are we expecting Sergio Perez's good form to continue, or could we have a bolt out the blue?
I'm expecting that bolt to be yellow and black. I've talked about Renault. I think this is probably their weekend. It's just also just a feeling I have. They've been a bit underwhelming this season, but I think this is the time where they're going to flip that switch.
And Adam?
Nick thinks it'll be the bolt will be yellow and black. I think it'll be papaya and blue.
Here we go again.
Call me biased, but
We've been here before. We told him not to, but
Carlos
unfortunately
Sainz.
can't contain him.
Carlos Sainz home race. Lando Norris been very impressive.
You mean young Lewis Hamilton?
Lewis Hamilton 2.0,
Yeah, okay.
as we mentioned last time. I think McLaren will have another good race. They are 4th in the championship as it stands. Renault could come back into it.
Have you framed that picture of them being 4th in the standings?
Oh, yeah, well, I'm going to wait till they're 3rd at the end of the year. I don't think Haas will be anywhere near, unfortunately. Kimi Raikkonen will probably be up there for Alfa Romeo.
Oh, yeah, he did definitely sneak home some points.
Yeah, Perez might be up there. Stroll, if he decides he fancies Q2, depends if he wants an early end of the day, doesn't it? So I'm just gonna quit in Q1, but it should be a tight midfield, especially with Renault with their upgrade. So anything could happen to me.
One man we haven't mentioned, who normally gets mentioned too much, is Pierre Gasly. We're not fancying him this week, guys.
I'd probably be P6 and get fastest lap.
Yeah, I'm saying P6 as well. I don't know about Red Bull this weekend. I'd love Max Verstappen to do what he did in 2016, but it's just not very realistic for me. Yeah, and Gasly, he still needs a couple more races to get up to speed. Literally get up to speed.
Get some speed.
Some speed. Yeah, to not be a midfield car with a Red Bull. Yeah, I'm not fancying Gasly.
Right, that's the guys' predictions. If you want to leave yours down below, comment who's your top 3 and who are you expecting to be in the midfield. We'll move on to now to the F1 Fantasy. We'll move on now to F1 Fantasy, where I am still top of the leaderboard with 519 points. These guys are closely behind, but
whatever.
I mean, I'm top, so people should be coming to me for their picks, but I'm going to come to you guys. Adam, who are you going for your picks this weekend?
Right, so in the past, we've said take out your Renault drivers. I'm going to go against the trend. I'm saying bring them back in. It doesn't matter who, Ricciardo or Hülkenberg. I think this upgrade could do them a lot of good. And people might not have Ricciardo or Hülkenberg, so if you're behind, a bit of an alternate pick, bring them in. They might perform better than, everyone's got Kimi Raikkonen, everyone's got Sergio Perez or whatever. I think a Renault driver could get you a handful of points. You can turbo boost them because they're under the price limit.
I'll remind you, Ricciardo's minus 10 points so far.
Yeah, but doesn't matter what's happened so far.
Roman Grosjean has a lovely minus 13 for me.
Yeah, he's in my team as well.
I'm still top, but Nick, who are you going for?
Yeah, I was going to say Ricciardo as well at 12.5 million. But
Steal.
Yeah, it is a steal, but if you just want consistent points, we've talked about Kimi Raikkonen being just a points machine in that Alfa Romeo. Pick him, 10.4 million, can't go wrong with him. Maybe stick a turbo on him if you just want some safe points. Why not? Kimi Raikkonen for Alfa.
A bit of a cheap risk, maybe, slight risk. Antonio Giovinazzi.
That is a risk. You don't get points for good hair, Adam.
Bit of a hot take, but listen, he made Q3 in the last race in Azerbaijan.
Oh yeah, but Q3.
Maybe that Alfa Romeo is quicker than we're giving it credit for.
At 6.9 million.
Yeah, he's not expensive, is he?
But you could argue that at 7 million you have Lando Norris, and at 7.1 you can have Carlos Sainz. Would that not be the more viable option?
Well, it depends if you're a McLaren fan or not.
Right, it's now time for my favourite part of the podcast, where I propose a hot take to these two wonderful gentlemen here. One will defend it, one will attack it, and we'll see who wins. Oh, well, it's 1-1. It's 1-1 at the minute. Nick's passionate defence of Sebastian Vettel brought him home the points last time.
I mean, and the Leclerc winning it has only proved my point. That's all I'm saying.
Fair enough, I'll give you that one.
Proof is in the pudding. But this week, guys, is Daniel Ricciardo, is he overrated?
He is.
Nick, you're going to attack him. Adam, you're going to defend the Australian. Nick, we're going to start with you. I want your most passionate attack of Daniel Ricciardo. And when your time is up, after 30 seconds, you'll hear this sound.
Stop it.
So, Nick, on your marks, get set, go.
Okay, so Daniel Ricciardo won two races last season, but those were his only 2 podiums of the entire season. He's been horribly outqualified by Max Verstappen last season. He's been exposed, really. And although he got the main part on the Netflix series, Daniel Ricciardo is simply overrated. He's not learned anything, and frankly, Daniel Ricciardo does not have the skills milkshake that brings the boys to the yard, if I have to put it that way. And that's the end of my argument. He's overrated as hell.
With a second to spare,
Stop
Nick.
it.
He doesn't have the skills milkshake.
That brings the boys to the yard.
He doesn't bring the boys to the yard. Adam, you've got to defend him.
Okay, I'll
and you've got
defend
to
him.
somehow top the skills milkshake.
Right.
Your time starts now.
Okay, Daniel Ricciardo has 7 Grand Prix wins in a Red Bull. Max Verstappen has 4 or 5, can't really remember. 5, whatever. That's more. 7 is more than 5. Daniel Ricciardo outperforms Sebastian Vettel, and you, Nicolás Quarles, keep backing Sebastian Vettel to win races. You backed him last time and you won. I'm backing Daniel Ricciardo. He outperformed Vettel by 71 points. Yes, he's had a tough start to the season, but he's on his way back. 7th in
that's
China.
your time. Adam, you've run out of time, mate.
Nah, that was my end.
Can
that
I
was
just
the
say
end.
that he brought up stats from 5 years ago?
Yeah, I must say, bit of a different era, Adam.
Nick brought out Sebastian Vettel stats from 6 years ago. Last time.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I mean, Adam,
Just give it to me.
I can't give it to you, Adam. You ran out of time. You lose points for
I
running out of
ended
time.
dead on the time.
And as far as I'm concerned, your defence of the
2-1.
Australian wasn't as good. Nick takes the lead in the championship, the only championship that really matters.
I mean, this is corruption.
It's
I'll just
2-1
be
to
honest
Nick.
here. Fair play, Nick. Well done.
He takes another win,
thank
and
you.
Minced over my words a couple of times.
well
Next
done,
time I'll be smooth.
well done, Ricciardo. If you're listening, you've not impressed Nick.
Daniel, if you're listening, I still back you for lots of points this season, and I will be proved right.
I still like you, Daniel.
You just haven't got the skills milkshake.
I mean, 7 is more than 5. Let's be honest.
I couldn't argue with that one.
Right, that's all we've got time for this week, guys. If you've got any questions, make sure you put them down below in the comments section and we'll do our best to answer them. If you want to join the F1 Fantasy League, we'll leave the code also there. So join it and see if you can beat me, because I am still top. These guys are lagging behind. Yeah.
You won't be top by this time next week.
Well, I've had the Haas pair for the last 3 weeks, so
How are you top?
I am just doing the best. But if you want to join it, the code's down below. Come and challenge us and see how you do. But guys, thank you for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
2-1.
Valtteri, it's James.